Hey guys, so welcome to a brand new video. So you're probably wondering why am I holding this dynamic mic? Well, all of my other mics for some reason are malfunctioning today. Of all days, I wanted to record videos because I haven't done one in so long. But we're gonna go with this dynamic mic today because this one has I've had this mic for like a good maybe 7 years now, and it still works pretty well. So we're gonna just do it as old school style. Like I'm just gonna probably hold it different ways and whatnot. So today's topic is going to be actually talking about the gay community and the culture around how we deal with sexual assault. So basically, the title of this video would be "Gay Culture is Rape Culture," and you're probably wondering why am I talking about this, Michael? What type of what importance does this have? Well, I was scrolling through my what was it? I think Twitter. I was scrolling through, and I saw a news article from Pink News about a YouTuber by the name of Brad Guy. He is a gay YouTuber, and he went to a bear convention essentially in the UK last year, and he was pretty much sexually assaulted and he was trying to figure out he was trying to like cope with the idea of what had happened, and it took him a while to like really formulate and like come to grips with it. And just a brief little general overview of what happened. He was at the event and some guy came up to him and kind of like touched him inappropriately, and then eventually to pull down his pants and just did a whole bunch of unnecessary sexual like touching and whatnot. And he felt humiliated. He actually left the event crying and stuff like that. And the event organizer hasn't said anything about it since he spoke about this. And it's very telling because that's kind of how the gay community, I guess, deals with things like this. It's actually considered, it's normalized to be treated like that, and it's so unfortunate. I even had my own little experiences with it. Mine was nowhere near as severe as his, but in the same token, it still was unwarranted touching, except that his was just really more graphic and a little bit more heinous than mine. I went to Market Days last year to see Jody Watley and actually to see one of my friends who was coming in town from Detroit. And he, unfortunately, we didn't get to see the concert at the exact same place because I think he was at another part of the venue, and I couldn't find him. I'm short, so it's hard for me to like look over people. So I just kind of stayed to myself while I was there, just enjoying the show and being excited to see Jody Watley. And this guy, this older gay gentleman, kept touching me. Like he kept getting closer and closer to me as he was dancing off beat to Jody Watley, which was upsetting me. I'm like, how do you do that? But whatever. So he's just getting closer. He's like itching his way closer to me, dancing, and then he keeps touching my arm, and he kept doing it. And I got like irritated by it, and I got visibly irritated. And I didn't want to make a scene because I'm like, I don't want to be that angry gay black dude at this white event because I don't want to do that and just cause a scene and just make more ruckus. I mean, I wanted to respect Jodie Wiley and her set, and I didn't want to make a scene in front of her and whatnot. So I just kindly kept moving away from him. And I think this couple behind me had saw it because I'm like super short, so it's not hard to see anything happening to me. We were taller than me, so he saw me kind of move away from that older guy. It was this older white guy that was doing it, and then the guy was behind me and he kind of laughed. I guess he kind of saw what had happened, but while he was doing that, he kind of like started rubbing my shoulders, and I'm like, felt really uncomfortable. So I kind of like just told him like, I don't need you to rub my shoulders. And he kind of, I guess he kind of did it instinctually, but it just felt like I didn't want to be touched at that point at all. And just for him to like do that just was kind of, oh god. Like this is a very minor case, but there are so many other cases of stuff like this happening, which is way bigger degree of like sexual misconduct and sexual assault and just not knowing what consent looks like. And unfortunately, in the gay community, it's almost expected to be touched or like groped and stuff like that without consent because the whole culture behind like the nightlife and cruising and all that stuff warrants that. Like it's expected to be touched and groped, and somebody just grab your dick out of nowhere, somebody just grab your ass out of nowhere. Like that's expected, and it's unfortunate that that's like a normalized thing because no one should touch anyone without consent. Like that's just bottom line. That doesn't really. There's no. There's the consensual touching and discourse is how things should go, but there's a lot of pushback actually from the gay community as far as like what is consent, what is rape, and whatnot. And people really do say, a lot of gay men that I've talked to about this would say that it's okay to be groped when you go to a bar, or it's okay to be touched inappropriately when you go to a club, because these places, these gay spaces are breeding grounds for that type of behavior, and everyone does it, and it's just okay. I actually had a couple of friends that I've known, or just people I've talked to on Twitter, who would say that they were just like completely violated at like these clubs and stuff, and it was like okay for people to do it because that's just the culture that's been created around it, because sex is such a prevailing thing in the gay community, and it's just so normalized where consent is something that isn't even, it's not even on the, it's not even on the table most of the time. It's kind of like, what is consent? Like they don't even understand what the idea of consent is a lot of times. Like you just get into these places and people just do think they can do whatever they want because, oh well, you're gay, so you should be happy someone's even finding you attractive, or oh, you should be flattered. And I don't think there should be any type of flattery behind somebody trying to violate me. Like that's, what's flattering about some guy just going to run up to me and just putting his hands in my pants or something like that. Like I don't see anything about that being gratifying or affirming or good or healthy. Like a lot of it is this toxic predatory behavior, and I think that we need to really come to grips with it and have conversations about it and start having real dialogue about this type of thing, because I just don't want people to get into situations that are way worse than what I experienced or what Brad Guy experienced. Like people, there are worse cases of like sexual assault that are way more graphic and way more traumatizing that happen in the gay community, and people just say, "Oh, it's fine," someone trying to like forcibly have sex with you in the bathroom is okay. And also, there's one part about this that's really, unfortunately, is very insidious. Is just the whole idea of like rape kink. Like I remember a lot of guys on Grindr when I was single would be like, "Yeah, I want somebody to rape me and stuff. I want him just to take it." I'm like, first of all, I'm sorry to kink shame, but rape is such. I just don't see any value in recreating really traumatizing experiences for people. Like I get like BDSM and stuff like that, but even BDSM has a level of consent and safe word and stuff like that. And someone trying to reenact a rape scene just really bothers me a lot. Like I just don't find anything about that to be sexy or affirming or healthy. Like it seems really, really, really toxic, and I just hate that that's actually a thing. And I don't. I know at that point I know you're consenting to be, but even just then, just the whole idea of consenting to be raped or be a part of a rape role play just made me feel weird. So I mean, maybe I just don't have the mindset for it, and I just don't really get off on stuff like that. But I just feel like that's a little. I think there's some levels of crossing boundaries and stuff. I think that kind of does, and like I think about what women go through as far as like dealing with consent, and it's very much so the same thing happened with gay men, because we just don't really know how to come to grips with having a sexual experience. As far as we don't know how to we don't know how to differentiate between sex and how that translates to other areas of our community. Like sex is such a prevailing part of it that where just about every component of our community is like predicated on sex in some way, shape, or form. And sometimes you have to separate the two in some points. And when it comes to consent, you have to place that as paramount. Yeah, I just think that we need to really. I think that if you're in a club space and that type of atmosphere and that type of environment is making it okay to be sexually assaulted and stuff like that, I don't think you should really go to those places. Like I think that you're better off going somewhere else than being a part of the type of culture. I know a lot of people who just don't go to clubs because of that very same reason. Like men just putting their arms around you or just grab you by your waist and just taking you, like that's just no. Like, or grabbing your arm and you don't want them to grab your arm, like that's just, my take on it is that if you are bold enough to just go up to the random person that you don't know and just grab them, you should be bold enough to be able to say like, "Hey, I think you're hot. I think I want to touch your penis, or I want to grab your ass, or come with me somewhere," or at some point give them the actual opportunity to make a conscious decision about what they want to do. Like, I think that's much better. I think that actually makes the person seem more. I think it would get I think you would get bigger points for being bold enough to just go up to somebody and say, "Hey, I'm gonna grab your dick," like that. I think for me, if I was in that space, I would. I don't know if I would say yes, but I would be like, he's really bold. I don't know, but something about that, just that level of moxie is kind of like attractive versus you just being a creep and just walking up to me and just putting your hands in my pants. But at that point, you just lost all like levels of respect at that point. Even the fact that the question is really lewd and just kind of a little gross, at least at that point you show a level of, okay, I at least respect you as a human to at least ask you first before I just go about invading your personal space. Another thing I'm going to talk about is alcohol and drugs and how that plays into this whole rape culture when it comes to gay men. Because I think that if you're under the influence, you really don't have the capacity or mechanisms to be able to make conscious decisions. So that's another way a lot of gay men have been raped. Like, for lack of a better word, that a lot of them don't even have like the their brain isn't able to like make a logical, like, choice at that point because you're inebriated by like all your substances or stuff. And a lot of gay men do get raped at these like events and parties and stuff. Like, they'll be drinking or they'll be taking all these other stuff or doing whatever, and they get into these really like dangerous sexual situations, and then sometimes it's up to them being like flat out raped by some 3 or 4 dudes. They didn't even know what happened at the end of the day. And yeah, I think that if you're drinking, you really don't have the. If you're drinking heavily and then you get completely drunk, you don't have the mental capacity to make conscious decisions about what's going to happen to you next. So at that point, you can't really consent to anything. And I think we need to have more discussions about how that plays a role in this too, because I think drinking and sex and drugs and stuff are just so closely linked to where you can't have one without the other sometimes, when especially when you're in these gay spaces. So yeah, that's my thoughts on rape culture in the gay community. It's really prevalent. I'm only scratching the surface. There's way more levels to this, and there's so many other like areas and layers to this that I can probably go into. But I feel like I've got the groundwork, which is pretty much consent is always good, and you should always ask first before you touch someone or want to engage in type of sexual activity with someone, no matter where the place you are at. Like, it can be in a bathhouse, it can be at a grocery store, it could be at a gay bar or whatnot. It doesn't matter. It could be at a gym, because I know people have sex at gyms. So no matter where you are, you should always ask if you want to touch someone or engage in sexual activity. And if someone's not able to have like a coherent like brain at that point, if their brain's kind of like influenced by like drugs and stuff, you shouldn't even engage in sex with them anyway. Like, I think at that point you just risk, you do a lot of damage at that point by doing that, because you don't know what their mental capacity is at that point. And then the next day they end up waking up and like, oh my god, what did I just do? And then they feel like they've been violated completely. So I think this is a rule of thumb, is just stay away from people who are inebriated and don't engage in sex with them. And then if you are going to engage with people who aren't inebriated, just ask first. That's it. That's the longest short of it. But there are so many other like avenues when it comes to this. It's a topic that needs to be talked about a lot more than just this like video I'm going to be doing. So what do you guys think about rape culture and the gay community? You think that is crazy? Do you think that I'm over exaggerating? You think that Brad guy is over exaggerating his experiences? Do you think it's flattering for a guy to come to you and just pull your pants down? Let me know. I love comments. Please leave comments on the video and get engaged in the dialogue. I love people engaging in my videos. It makes me feel like I'm doing something worthwhile. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys next time.